So, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you may be. I will tell you right now it's morning where I am because we all know about me. Not unusual for me to have a kind of a rough night now. So the producer and I, we got up, I guess, about 3:30 in the morning, and w- I waited until about quarter to six to take him. I got to take him for a W because if I use a four-letter word, you know, all kinds of wrath from YouTube will fall, WALK, but not really. So, and I know I am not the only person out there that talks to their PETs for advice. And, some people watch Jimmy Briggs on how to do a YouTube channel, which I do because I like Jimmy. Uh, but occasionally Jackson is on top of it. Jackson, you see at the entry of every first video. So I had a rough day yesterday. Um, I'm not going to bore you with it. It's just they, they used to say that God only gives you what you can handle. I'm really going to write him a letter. But so I met my surgeon, my PC surgeon. That does not mean probable cause. If you're up to date, you know what I'm talking about. And this guy is I think I may have told you, he's no smoke up your dress, nothing like this. My only problem with it is he's one of these guys that gives you homework for your surgery. Read these two books. They're yeah, okay. They'll tell you what to eat. The bottom line is you eat what you can, but you're not going to eat a lot. Um, I don't eat a lot now. I've lost about 17 pounds, and that's been since I guess about February 1st. But we're going to move on. Um, my high school circle, Charles, you'll be happy to hear this. Todd is getting more people involved, and it's just not the Publix group, but it is. Some of them are from Publix. They asked, I guess it's not a silly question. What someone saw the dead spot on I-4. And he goes, "I've got a question for you. This is why I don't go to Publix except in the morning now to avoid these kids." Not really. Why do we build roads? How old are you? That okay, well, you should know one of the biggest things that people talk about when they do inventions, it's necessity. I need something. I need something to help my life get better. So necessity is the mother of all invention. When man was, early stages, uh, maybe not walking on all fours, they'd figured a walk biped so that they could get a better view of mostly other predators because then they became the predator. But they started to, well, they needed stuff, you know, just like you do. You need food, you need shelter, you need water. Yeah. So a lot of times they find these paths cut in the grass or in the forest or wherever they may be. And they were usually made not by them, but by smarter grazing animals. So paths would end up becoming trails, markers, places of journeys, mostly to find water, mostly to find some sort of reef source, wood, food. Because that chicken and the egg thing in the history, yeah, they just tease you with that. Don't even try to answer it, Todd. Um, you you're going to want to know, how can I make my life better? I hate laying out here in the mud and the rain. Oh, let's build a shelter. So stuff like that. A path later would become a road. And then once you start developing communities, and mostly hydromatic, water-based communities, you would use the river as well as a means of transportation because, well, one, water's always level and it's usually got a current, and pretty soon they figured out that wind thing and everything else. But the sources of roads are usually paths, trails. When people came here, they followed Native Americans, and they didn't always understand, because Native Americans didn't think, well, this group's not going to last long. They drink water out of a puddle. They don't even go to a spring. Well, okay, here comes dysentery and everything else. I'm sorry, I'm scratching. This is another side effect of high enzyme levels. Uh, but that's just one of those things. And then, of course, some of the best road builders were the Romans, and they had the right approach. You ever look at these things? It's like 6, 7 layers. They would build magnificent roads, not like Moscow in the 70s. And got like 12 lanes, and sorry. So Brezhnev could drive like hell in the middle lane, not hit anybody because, well, no one had a car, or they did have a car. I mean, Nixon gave him a Lincoln once, and they almost, that's a true story. I think they were at Camp David. Um, gave him a Lincoln from Ford Motor Company, and Brezhnev was ecstatic. And of course, when you're the head boss of an absolute government, no one's going to tell you no. Just like they do Putin. Yeah, I know he's elected, whatever. Um, he says, "Oh, come with me," and he takes Nixon gets in the car. No one else got in the car. No, no translator. It's a crap moment. They're flying around the little pass at Camp David or Shank. Well, no, it's Camp David. In this Lincoln, they're topping out like at 40. And these, if you've ever been to Camp David, it's not, roads aren't wide. So Nixon said it was a wild moment because he wasn't afraid. He said he wasn't afraid for himself. He said, I just knew we were going to hit a couple of Secret Service guys in a golf cart or something like that. I think they did a real good rendition of it in, what was the movie? Final Days or Final Days. Him and Brezhnev driving crazy. But when you're the boss, who's going to tell you no, you can't do that? So that's why we have roads. Later on, we just built cities and we had farm communities, and you needed transportation. The rivers, they were great because they would use that all the time. And it was free until someone started charging you tolls and stuff like that. We'll get back to that. I don't know who's going on. But that's one thing. Um, this guy, he's management. The next guy is, who asked me a question. And he said, what was the first weapon? Well, biblically, they talk big about a sling and jawbone of an ass, and probably, fist. But there's a lot of questions about martial arts and development. They were watching animals fight each other. I never seen the Kung Fu Tiger type thing. But probably the first weapon was probably a rock, something you could pick up and throw or drop. In the Desert Road books, um, the narrator talks about how the brown curly haired man figured out how to aim from above his enemy by dropping rocks. And he describes it, the first rock went a little wild, a little way off. The second rock went the other way. And by then, the third rock, his adversary, looked up and caught the big rock right in the head. So, and it's probably the same way. You know, man's invention trying to, if you've ever been in combat, face to face, hand to hand, this is something you want to avoid at all costs. I always remember in the Army, they used to say, well, if you get your bayonet stuck in your adversary and it won't come out, just fire a round. If there's a bullet in my gun, my rifle, we're not going to be doing hand to hand. And, I think a lot of sergeants caught on to that. Yeah, probably not. Probably not a good idea. So that was one thing. One of these days, I'd like to do a highway tour, a special highway that means, well, it's just been big in my life. And if I get the chance, we're going to do it from beginning to end. But I'm looking forward to that. So, and then let's see. I spent not long at Publix, but I got a couple of questions. Next time, I'm just going to turn on my phone and record. Um, my sources. Sometimes I list it. If I go into a great deal of detail, I don't want you to think I'm, you know, the master of BS. History is an argument a lot of times because, well, regardless of how old I am, my memory is not that good. But I didn't live through it. And a lot of historians, Barbara Tuchman, I know I've mentioned her 100 times. She's real big in was real big in research, and she always cautioned, don't get stuck in it. You'll never write a book. You'll just it'll it's a rabbit hole. You'll go from this to this to this, and you'll never get out. So you try to keep your arguments simple, but I use a lot of sources. I have the county library is one of mine. I have my own library. I got almost, well over 700 volumes. I have the internet, of course, and then I'm a patron to Stutson University's library. And then sometimes I just talk to sources directly, and that's what you call it. Now, they're primary sources, witnesses are what we would call them. And just like a machine with moving parts, the fewer the better. So if you can get close to the source, to the event, now you're addressing the issue with authority. But sometimes, and y'all will, I don't know if any of y'all remember these, but I know they were all across the country. Book warehouses. My God, go in there and get those publisher closeouts. I remember one time, the first time I was there, I think I bought like 21 books. I spent like $200. And they were, AJ, William. They were not coloring books and didn't they had some diagrams, but you wouldn't like them. Although you do seem to like reading or pretending to read. But I love those. Love to go there. We had one, I think it went out of business down on International Drive. There was one supposedly up at St. Augustine. When I drove to it, it was no longer. So now I'm just looking wherever I see one. But book warehouses, stuff like that. So that's kind of quick what we what I like to do. So I was looking at this. This is sometimes my sources. And I never know where they come up with these. Well, everybody's heard of Ivan the Terrible, right? Yeah. He had a unique guard. Everybody was over 6 foot. He was kind of kind of a dreaded type of guy. You know, S&M was entertainment for him. And he taxed you if your beard was too long. But now, some of these guys have escaped history, and it's a shame. because you look at their name, you go, what did they do to deserve that? The first one I would like to bring up is Alfonso the Slobberer. There's no better way to say it, the Slobberer. Well, I know what I'm thinking. King Alfonso the Ninth, well, he ruled part of France, Lyon, I think from in the 12th century, 1188 to about 1230. And he apparently had some issues with rage. I mean, who's ever met a really nice, happy king, in the Middle Ages? Or when he got angry, of course, he liked to drool uncontrollably, and so much to the point it looked like he was a rabid dog, foaming at the mouth. So there you go, Alfonso the Slobberer. How many kids do you think were named after him? I don't think any. Let's see. Harold, that's with a H-A. The Lousy, that's right. He's a bug guy. He was part of the Medici family. No, wait a minute. No, he was That's not right. Norwegian. I'm sorry, Scandinavia. And he didn't cut his hair. Kind of a sloppy guy. I'm sure we're going to try to find a portrait of him somewhere. And he vowed he would not cut his hair until he achieved his goal and founded a kingdom in Norway, or for the Norwegian people. His hair grew extremely long. Hygiene was not the prince of the day, so kind of dirty and filthy. And he was, well, just full of lice, like everybody else, but he got the moniker. There was Ivan the Boneless, boneless, like a boneless chicken sandwich. He believes, let's see here, he was a Danish king, or chieftain, excuse me, and they think that he suffered from a bone disease, imperfecta, or brittle bones. But that didn't seem to stop him. He still invaded England several times. Whether he, you know, left there with a arm in a sling or a leg up, don't know. So, yeah, some of those things just we miss out on. So take time, start thinking about what you want to be known as. Put that on a leather jacket. Hi, I'm Todd. I'm the slick bad guy. Bag. Bad guy. All right. So that's it for today. I'm looking on something else later on. All right. Y'all have a good day. See you next time. Bye.